Welcome to We Be Parents, where parent doctors Matthew Letterman and Alona Pulde explore current parenting topics, share stories, and help bring families closer together.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of We Be Parents. I'm Dr. Alona Pulde.
And I'm Dr. Matthew Letterman.
And we're going to start our episode today with headlines and heartlines.
Headlines and heartlines.
Where we play with ideas, answer your burning questions, tackle some current events, and find the balance between taking things seriously and keeping a sense of humor. So let's get started. In this episode, we're going to talk about helicopter parenting, and I heard a pretty funny story that I was going to share about a overprotective mom.
What is helicopter? Do you know anything about helicopter parenting?
So we're going to parents who hover like a helicopter over their children, micromanaging their every step. And here's how this mom happened to do it. She had a son who she was dropping off at college. And from parking the car to getting into the dorm, there were so many moments where she organized his room, she filled his refrigerator and labeled his meals, she took his roommate on a tour to show the roommate exactly where her son's stuff was and what that looked like. She called to remind the son to make sure that his teeth were brushed and that he was ready for bed. And this is a college-aged child.
Whoa.
Yes. And it's lucky for that kid that his friends had a sense of humor. And so they created a helicopter parent alert system where they would mock the mom if they heard a text ding from her or call from her. They would make a helicopter noise, or eventually they created a cardboard helicopter that they flew around when mom would step into his life. And it became like a lighthearted prank, but it also allowed the son to have that awareness and an opportunity to have heart-to-heart with his mom around the impact of her care for him. And it gave the mom an opportunity to really acknowledge her impact and realize the importance of giving her son a bit of space to grow. And although maybe we haven't found ourselves quite in that situation, I definitely resonated with the desire to care and protect our children, sometimes or oftentimes in ways that may not actually serve them or respect their autonomy and their desire to grow into their own space, explore and discover, and whatever that looks like.
Yeah, and a lot of times we say it's about them, helping them, but it's really not. It's really about giving us peace of mind as the parent. Because if it's about them, they're going to be grateful. So if they haven't connected to why this is helpful, for example, my mom always would fight with me to bring a jacket, wear a jacket. Even I think she called me in college to bring jackets. And
Are you sure the story wasn't about your mom?
The jacket wars. I was like, Mom, if you're worried, if you're doing this for me, let me get cold. And then if I'm cold and I want a jacket and then you give me a jacket, now it's about me. But if she doesn't, a lot of parents don't want to have to carry the jacket, or they're worried about later the kid needs a jacket, they don't have a jacket. Okay, we'll say, hey, what I do with my kids now, because the jacket was such a touchy subject for me, I say, hey, if you're cold, I don't want to hear about how cold you are. I don't want you to ask me for a jacket, and I need you to be okay being freezing cold out there. And if you're okay with that, don't worry about it. I don't care if you bring a jacket or not. But you know what was funny? When I did that, they say, maybe I'll bring a jacket just in case. The same thing with sunblock, right? How many parents have had the sunblock wars?
Oh, yeah.
And you say, hey, you need to wear sunblock. All they hear is, it's not about me. It's about my parents forcing me, and I don't want to wear sunblock. What I say to my kids is, who wants to get burned and who wants to wear sunblock? I'm going to put sunblock on because when I get burned, I get blisters and my skin peels and it's really miserable and it helps protect me from cancer. They're like, what's cancer, Dad? And we have to have that conversation. But the point is they start to connect to why am I doing it? And then they can say, does that matter? And I'll say, did you put sunblock on? And they'll say, no. But, okay, so you're okay getting burned. And they'll be like, well, I'm not really okay getting burned. Okay, well, think about what you want to do there. And then the other kid will say, I put sunblock on my face, but not my shoulders. I'm like, okay, good. So you don't want your face to get burned, but you're okay with your shoulders getting burned? And they'll be like, huh. So do you see how just by asking that question, it starts to shift? I think that's important because a lot of the helicopter parenting and the power struggles we get into, we say are about the children, but they're really about us and our fears regarding the children.
Right. There's a desire for a great desire. I think it's a primary desire for parents is a peace of mind that their kids are going to be okay, that their kids are going to be safe, that their kids are going to thrive. And in doing that, we tend to err on wanting to control their behaviors, to control their situations, to protect that safety.
And when you do it for them, you rob them of the opportunity to learn that skill themselves.
Or even connect to why they want to do it. I love that you shared that. Why do I want to put sunblock on? Not because my dad told me, because I don't want to get burnt.
And believe me, Kylie got really burnt once. And boy, was she miserable.
She was with Matt.
But you know what? Now
she will take
I'll
her
say, hey,
sunblock.
do you want to get burned again? Remember, if you do get burned, I don't want to hear about how much it hurts, though. You can tell other people. But if these are the things, because as a parent, I'm like, now I'm thinking about that. That's part of the reason I'm forcing sunblock on them is it's going to hurt. I'm going to have to hear about it. They're not going to be able to shower. They're going to be crying. And I say, these are all the things I'm worried about, which is why I want you to wear sunblock. So it's that, to me, it's that connection. But when you take the opportunity for them to figure it out, I know that when you are in charge of time, Alona, I don't think about time. But if you are not here, I am aware of the time because no one else is going to do it. When we were at the Hurricane Harbor last time, and Kylie was with two other kids. And when I'm with her and the kids, she's not even thinking straight. Like she's got her head under rafts and I'm like, oh my God, can she breathe? But when I wasn't there and she took the kids themselves, all of a sudden she's like, Dad, I was like watching each kid and I didn't know what they were doing. And I was really having a hard time having fun because I was worried about this kid and that kid. And I said, oh, wow. So now she was aware of safety.
Now you know what it's like to be a parent. No, I'm kidding.
That's what Alona said. So the take-home message. But to me, that's the opportunity. The extent to which you let them experience so that they can connect to the need, that's the value. You get to decide that as a parent what your comfort is, right? I'm not going to let them play in traffic so they know what it's like to get hit by a car. I'm going to say, okay, this one I think we want to learn with me explaining it to you. But my point is, when the responsibility is on them, they connect to the need and the power struggle dissolves.
Even that example that you gave with the car, albeit absolutely that's a safety thing, you want them to connect to, I don't want you running in front of playing in traffic because
it hurts.
You're going to get hit by a car.
Yeah.
Not because I told you not to do that, because ultimately our goal is to trust that even when we're not there, our kids are going to have the skills and the knowledge and the awareness and the ability to take care of themselves.
And that's why as parents get tired, as they have more children, the younger children start to get more exposure to this themselves. And what we find, even just from the first to the second, the stuff that I was worried about with the first, it wasn't actually as big a deal. The second one did okay without. Now, there was still some stuff, obviously, that we had to take into account and protect and safety and things like that. But it's just really helpful to realize what happens if the kid doesn't find their toothpaste. Maybe they're going to learn to get more toothpaste.
Right.
Or they're going to not brush their teeth. But then that's going to take them to the next place. So I think the helicopter parenting is very much about the parent and not the child, even though we think we're doing it to protect our children.
And again, there's that balance of the collaborative and non-permissive. So it's when you share and give a choice around sunblock, you're not just saying, oh, you want to put sunblock on or not? You're sharing, I'm putting sunblock on because these are the things that I want to prevent. These are the things that are important to me. So you're building that awareness while also collaborating in choice.
Right. And it's very important, the non-permissive, because if Kylie said, I'm going to get burned, and every single time we went out, she got severely burned, I would say, well, one, doesn't that bother you? But two, I would say, I really want to connect to now some of my other concerns about getting burned, because one burn is not a big deal. But multiple burns, now my need for health and safety comes up. And that's where non-permissive is very important, that my need for health and safety will be met. That's not negotiable. There's lots of ways we can meet my need for health or safety, but I need to make sure my need for health and safety is met.
Yeah, I definitely like that distinction and that point.
So the moral of the story is don't let your kids play in traffic. Give them a lot of sunblock. Make sure they know where their toothpaste is. What else does... I think that was a fun one. I like that one.
Yeah, I like that one as well.
All right, well, let's move on to the cheers and tears.
Great.
Cheers and tears.
So cheers are things that went really well and that we can celebrate, and tears, things that didn't go quite so well and that we might even be mourning. So I'm going to share a tear that turned into a cheer. Our daughter, Kylie, who is 12, came into the car the other day and she just looked so sad, and I asked her what's up, and she shared that she and a friend got into an argument and that her friend's response was, well, I'm just not going to talk to you anymore. And knowing Kylie and knowing that probably something happened there where Kylie had an opportunity, my initial instinct, there were so many emotions that I was feeling at the time, which is anger at Kylie's friend for just dismissing her like that and not having the resilience to talk through what was bothering her. Hurt for Kylie, imagining that the friend just walked away from her and took away her friendship. And then also worry about Kylie because I want her to be successful, and I know that she has some challenges in the social realm. And so wondering what she could have done differently to have a different outcome. And that turned out to be my first instinct, was to go there and say, well, what happened? And just in the what happened, I already sent out the vibe that really what I was asking for was not what happened, but what'd you do? And yeah.
What'd you do?
And she heard that and she just looked at me and her face went from sad to just dead. She just deadpanned me and
like shut down.
It was total shutdown. And she said, well, I don't know. I don't even know what happened. We were just talking and then she walked away. I'm thinking, I know that's not true. But what happened to make her walk away? What did you say to her? And at that point, the conversation just stopped. She just shut down and looked away and was not willing to engage in conversation anymore because that's not what she needed at that moment.
And I think it's important to also point out there that just having thoughts, the enemy images of people, gets in the way of the connection. You just thinking, all right, what'd you do? That's going to change how the words, what happened, come out of your mouth, how they sound, how they land.
Exactly. And that's actually a really great point because so many times I said it so politely. Yeah. But what you meant behind it or what was sitting behind it, the reactivity that was sitting behind it, it comes across.
Right. Because they can even read in your face. You're tense when you think that someone is the perpetrator. You're going to send messages from just looking at you that, hey, you're tense. You're almost, there's an aggression to your energy that comes across.
Right.
And I'm not talking to you personally.
Oh, yeah. I'm not taking it personally, but yeah, I hear you. And that's exactly what happened is I came with the energy of, you must have done something to stimulate that. What was it? And let's work on that. And it was this urgent desire to fix it for her and make it better. That was ultimately my desire, not to judge or criticize or shame her, but that's exactly what I ended up doing. And seeing the impact on her is that moment of pause of, man, I stepped in it this time. And that is the beauty of this heart hug that we're going to be talking about, because in that moment, I knew that I could offer that to her and say, hey, Kylie, can we do that again? And this time, can I give you a heart hug? And in our family, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but the heart hug is an opportunity, a space, an invitation of a connection space to share what's going on for you. So when I am willing to offer a heart hug, Kylie can trust that she's just going to be heard at that moment, and she can express whatever's in her heart without judgment, criticism, sympathy, blame, shame, anything.
I think one of the cheers also, there's times where this similar situation will occur, and you might just be able to pause and hold and then actually get a hard hug from me, for example. You might call me and say, hey, I could just use a hard hug here. This is what happened. And then circle back with Kylie another time. So it's not even that you have to force yourself, but it's just that awareness, that pause, and then getting a hard hug from someone else to tend to you will increase the ability of you to tend to Kylie.
To somebody else. In fact, that's a really important point, and we can jump right into the topic of the heart hug.
Do you want to explain what the heart hug is first? Yeah.
Yeah. Let's take a break and hear from our sponsors. This episode of Webe Pärents is brought to you by Webe Calm, the child calmer designed by doctors and loved by parents. Struggling with bedtime routines or managing your child's anxiety? Webe Calm transforms deep breathing into a fun and engaging activity, helping kids find their inner calm. Perfect for bedtime stressful moments or anytime your child needs a little extra help to stay calm. Visit webecalm.com to learn more and bring tranquility to your family. Webe Calm, because we be in this together. Welcome back, everybody. So the heart hug is really an invitation to offer an empathic space for the other person to share what is in their heart. And there is the agreement that in that moment, in that share, there will be no advice, no questions, no sympathy, no judgments, no criticisms, blames, shames, etc. It is really about just holding the space for another person to share and feel safe about their share. And what you just raised is really important, because if you're not in a space to give a heart hug, don't agree to it. That has to really be a sacred connection space, because if it's not, your kids are not going to want, your kids or your partner, they're not going to trust it to dive in. And
it's not going to feel good, right? It's the heart opening up to hear another heart is what feels wonderful. When you do the heart hug, we'll tell our kids, when you do that for me, or when I do that, it feels like someone's giving your heart a hug. And if in your head, you're still thinking, you're feeling angry, you're still having enemy images of what they did wrong, trying to prove that they're the perpetrator, your heart isn't soft and therefore is not in a place to give a hug any more than if you're angry and you give someone a rigid hug. A rigid, cold hug isn't going to feel good to somebody else. Similar with the heart.
Right.
So the tool, the way we explain it is very simple. All I need you to do when you're giving me a heart hug is to tell me back what you're hearing, I'm feeling, and what I'm wanting or needing. And if you're not hearing it from me, you can make a guess of what you're imagining I'm feeling, or you're imagining I'm wanting and needing more of. So it could be simple as I say to Kylie, hey, can you give me a hard hug real quick? And we do it both ways. And it's really helpful when you do it both ways. And I'll say, Kylie, I'm feeling really upset right now about something that happened at work. And I'm feeling disappointed. And I really wish that this project flowed a little easier than it's flowing right now. Right? And she'll ask, can I get a hard hug? And then it's clear. They know exactly what to do. And they'll say, oh, Dad, I'm hearing that you're feeling sad and really wanting things to flow at work more easily. I'll be like, And it's amazing. It sounds simple when we describe it. But if you try it, you'll see what we're talking about, where she's just there holding my feelings and making space and just telling me back what she's hearing. She's not trying to fix it. She's not giving me advice. She's not looking the other way. She's not on her phone. She's just present with me. And that really meets a need for empathy. And that's what heart hugs are. It's helping kids receive and ask for and share or deliver to other people empathy.
Right. On anything that's weighing in their heart. And in this situation, it's Kylie and a friend, but it could be Kylie did something that didn't resonate with her own values. She lied about something. She took something she wasn't supposed to take. She grabbed that cookie in the cookie jar without letting anybody know. It could be more impact. It could be deeper than that. It could be your kid calling and saying, I'm drunk at a party. I need a ride home. These are the connection spaces that they can share and trust that you're going to hear them. And I can imagine some parents being potentially stimulated by that in saying, well, wait a minute, if they're wrong, I got to let them know they're wrong. Yes. And there's space and time for that. The heart hug is not that time. And the beauty behind that is these things are happening with our children. Whether they're sharing that with you or not, they're happening. They are lying and they are taking things that aren't theirs and they're getting into trouble. And if you want to know about it, you have to give them a space where they can share it safely and trust that you're going to hear them.
And they're not going to hear you, even if you think they're wrong and want to tell them all the things about what they did and how it's wrong. And you want them to learn new ways of doing things and handling those situations. They're not going to be in a space to take it in if you don't create that quality of connection. And the heart hug is a beautiful way to do that. So again, that's really important. We're not telling you not to address your needs, but put your needs to the side for a minute while you create a quality of connection between you and the other person so that you can get your needs more effectively met.
What's beautiful about it is that more often than not, and actually almost always, once you've given a heart hug, the person is receptive to hear your thoughts and hear the impact.
Right. It's like trying to share your needs to somebody where there's a closed door between the two of you. You can yell and scream, but we have no idea what they're doing on the other side. There's no sense of openness or receptivity. By giving the heart hug, you're setting the stage. One, you care about them. Even though you're angry and you want your needs for respect or safety or security, whatever it is, to be addressed, you also care about them. And you want to increase the chances that they're going to be able to hear you, receive it, and care about it.
So, Matt, how would that look like engaging in that situation without any connection skills and then doing it with skills?
Well, lucky for you, I'm very practiced at doing it without connection skills. So, for example, with Kylie, when she says, hey, Dad, I just got into a fight with my friend and we're not friends anymore. And I immediately go, all right, we need to nip this in the bud. Because tell me what you did, because I'll say, hey, are there things that you could have done differently?
Or even, oh, that friend, she doesn't deserve to be your friend. You should just walk away. If she doesn't want to be your friend, don't be her friend.
So that's where advice or education or sharing my needs in the moment, I go, how many times, this is always happening. That's sharing my frustration. We've already talked about this and how you show up with your friends. So all of those are going to increase the chances that she doesn't share what's going on inside of her.
Right.
And the funny thing is, once you do the heart hug for her, she's aware of all that other stuff. And It's more powerful for her to connect to her awareness of that stuff and change her actions based on her needs around all that stuff than it is for me to tell her all that stuff that she already knows and try and just force her to take action right away.
Right.
So doing the heart hug there would have looked like, I probably would have had to give myself a heart hug first. I said, Matt, you're so internally, I could have had a little voice to myself and said, oh, Matt, it's really hard to see. And you're probably feeling really frustrated and maybe even worried. Is Kylie going to be okay with friends going forward, needing peace of mind that she's going to be able to navigate friendships and relationships? And I'm going to say, oh, and I also want to protect Kylie. Yeah, I want to protect her because she's these people, the way they're treating her, it's so painful. So you see how I'm doing a heart hug internally?
Right.
And then I could be like, okay, yeah, that's what's going on. And then I can say, hey, Kylie, I'm imagining that this is really hard. Would you like a heart hug? So I ask her. And she says, yeah, Dad, that would be great. And I could say, hey, Kylie, I bet it just feels so painful and so hurtful and sad when a friend basically says, I don't want to be friends anymore, takes the friendship away versus trying to work it out. I imagine that's really hard. And Kylie will soften and she'll say, yeah, Dad, that is really hard. And from there, there's all sorts of places to go. But I think just stopping there, not to make this harder than it is, you can see, I can feel it right now, just talking about it out loud, the connection that will increase as a result of this.
Right. And from there, just like you said, once Kylie feels heard, there's that extent of the connection, which is, oh, now I do have some thoughts. Would you like to hear them?
Right.
And like I said, most often, almost always, the answer is yes.
Yeah. So I'd love to figure out how to bring this home. How do we bring it into the home for people who are listening and they're excited by this idea? What would you tell them?
Yeah, the heart hug starts with trust. And I like the idea of sharing the intention behind it, the intention to create that trusting connection and the invitation to practice a heart hug when something's weighing on your heart, when something didn't feel right, when you are really feeling like you need to be heard first and foremost. Not only, but first and foremost.
Giving them language around how to ask for that, how to become aware of when they could use that.
Right.
Because at first, they're not going to know to even ask for a heart hug.
Right.
So teaching them what a heart hug is, it's empathy, which when done feels like your heart's getting a hug from the other person. And here are the steps. And if you're interested, I'd love to share those steps with you because I think it's going to feel really wonderful for you and for me.
Right. And here are situations where we can use it and actually modeling it when you mentioned, Matt, asking the kids for heart hugs, showing, hey, this is what it could look like. And it feels really great.
Yeah. When we brought the heart hug into our home, I was constantly talking about heart hugs, asking for heart hugs, offering heart hugs. It was like a heart hug
fest,
right? It was just crazy. But that was what built it into their awareness. And then they started asking for it. In fact, now they ask for it from each other, the kids. Kylie is 12, Jordan's 10. They're asking for heart hugs from each other. And it's basically saying, hey, I want to share something, then I'm a little worried about your reaction. Or, hey, I want to share something, and really I don't need your reaction. I just need you to be there. And they then ask for it and are able to do it for each other. And it's a really beautiful connection just to practice this. So I think even just bringing it home from that perspective, even if you're not sure how this feels yet, or if it's really going to help, could it be that simple? All you're doing is telling somebody back what you're hearing they're feeling and imagining they're needing. And once you try it, you're going to see it, how amazing it is. And to really ask for it as well, because we tell people, oh, here's a safe space. It's always a safe space. I know my parents told me, hey, Matt, if you're ever drinking and you need a ride home, just call me. And there was no way in heck I was going to ever call my mom because I knew, or I didn't have the trust that I was going to actually be okay and not pay the price. To me, it's not what you say, it's what you model.
Right. And I think that is gold, is that it actually gives me peace of mind knowing that we have the heart hug and that my children can come to me with things that otherwise they would be so worried about my reaction, they wouldn't tell me.
Right. And that to me takes practice to build that trust. So when I'm at the dinner table or I'm driving with Kylie or Jordan alone, I'm really mining for opportunity for them to share. I'm saying, I'm imagining your heart might be holding something that you're a little nervous to tell me. And you don't have to tell me. I make that very clear. But if you would, I would love to be able to give you a heart hug just to show you that I can do that. So it's almost asking them for the favor, like they're contributing to you too by taking that leap of faith into that trust and then showing them how great it feels based on you having a reaction that's very clearly about them.
Mm-hmm. What a beautiful trust it builds also.
Yeah.
And a sense of safety for children or partners or whoever are engaged in the heart hug.
Right. And when they give me a heart hug and I say, oh, wow, that feels fantastic. And I'll high five them. Thank you so much. That was great. Or they'll ask for a heart hug. I'll be, oh, you want a heart hug? I'm so excited. I'm going to give you one. Thank you so much for trusting me to ask for a heart hug. There's a lot of getting excited around the tool and the connection that it creates. So they think, wow, this is pretty amazing. Look at the gift I'm giving dad by just asking for a hard hug or offering a hard hug. And then they've even done it when I'm angry. And they'll be like, Dad, could you use a hard hug? When I'm driving and I'm really upset about what's going on. Like, Dad, could you use a hard hug? And I can say yes, I can say no. When we were first starting, I really tried to stretch and always take them up on the offer. But the bottom line is it's about connection, and this really supports that.
Absolutely.
So one last thing. What would be, we like to wrap up with one last thing, Alona. What would you like to leave everybody with?
Yeah, I think for me, it's really that the heart hug is an invitation to be authentic, to really hear what's happening in your children's hearts. And it's happening. And without the heart hug, they suppress and repress all of that. And the more they do that, the more distance they create from you, as opposed to actually having connection with you.
I love that. The heart hug is the path away from suppression and repression.
And disconnection.
Exactly. That's your bridge. Wonderful. Well, we would love to hear from people listening. We'd love to hear your cheers, your tears.
As you practice the heart hug.
Yeah, we're with you through the ups and the downs and the sideways. And so please email us as you try these things at home. And we'd love to hear from you. You can email us at parents@webetogether.com. Pärents, which is Parents @webetogether, webetogether.com. And we look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the We Be Parents podcast. To hear what else Doctors Matt and Alona are up to, visit us at webeparents.com. Remember to try something you learned today. It just might be the first step in a new relationship with your kid.
Hey parents, tune in to our next episode of We Be Parents, where we explore the powerful concept of feeling torn. We share a heartfelt story about navigating jealousy and celebration between siblings and how acknowledging multiple emotions can strengthen family bonds. Discover how to turn moments of chaos into opportunities for connection and growth. Don't miss it.